today we're doing an environmental photo shoot with lots of cameras, wide-angle lenses, lighting gear, and this talented dude with his guitar. Let's dive straight in. So we're going to photograph this small, newly designed studio. It's soundproofed to make it appear bigger than it actually is using some clever camera trickery. So I'm going to use a bit of fill light just down here on the floor for this guitar. This is my Rotolight, just a nice LED power light. About 15% on 2700 Kelvin. Okay. So I'm going at half a second on the exposure, ISO 100, and we are on f8, 2-second timer. Here's a nice establishing shot where I've edited the blue accent lights under the desk to more of a teal, which is a complementary color to orange. So let's go for that shot through the doors. I mean, these are epic doors. How much did you say these were? $5,000 for a soundproof doors. Pretty decent. Right, we'll probably still use the Rotolight. Cool. We're going to have a little bit of glare from the glass, but you know, that's fine. Now we can't use the Rotolight in the same position because of the reflection in the glass. Let's put it inside. Yeah, so top corner. That's it. Handle up. Yep. And then if we put it here, might need to turn it up a bit. Good. Right, let's have a look. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Right, so I'm going to manually focus. So I'm going to zoom in on a portion of the image. We'll start off with the guitar, I think. Just go into the viewfinder, have a good look properly. Let's go and have another look at the microphone. Yeah, that's good. So everything is clear from front to back. Yeah, you can see those, let's just go into the viewfinder. So you can see those doors are slightly barrel distorted, but nothing that post-production can't fix. So this is Joe Badger, very talented guy, runs a function band called Excalibur, saw them a while back live and blew me away. And this is his new pad, his mothership, where he records, he edits, and he teaches all there is to know about the music industry. Oh, and by the way, his wife does exactly the same thing. So it's like a house of talented little badgers. So we're going to photograph him in his studio and make it look great for his website. Right, so what we have here is a 14mm Samyang lens. It's an f2.8 and it's fully manual, so manual focus and manual aperture, which means it's relatively inexpensive. I think you can pick one of these up for about £240 secondhand, so it's a good bargain. And it's really sharp, especially through f8, which is pretty much where I'm going to be taking photographs today in here. But mainly I like this lens because it kind of reminds me of that computer's eye in Flight of the Navigator. Compliance. So let's get you sat down. Let's get a good composition on you first. So I'm going to get fairly close. We don't want to get too close because we don't want you to be distorted in the shot. I think if you go back maybe a foot and a half towards the wall, then you're not quite so big in the frame. Obviously we're on a super wide angle here, so the closer you are to the camera, the bigger you're going to get, and it's going to multiply. Yeah, that's nice. What we need to do now is light you properly. Let's get the Rotolight and I want to see what that looks like. Probably over here. So let's get a tripod, or lighting stand, I should say. Okay, so that's 20% power on the Rotolight, and I think that looks a little bright to me. So let's bring it down to 10. Look at me. Yeah, okay, let's go 15, split the difference. Yes. Right, so let's get focus on Joe. So that is nicely focused on Joe. We are at f8 again. So you're going to have to remain pretty still here. In fact, dead still, because this is a 0.6 of a second exposure. Just chin down a little bit. There you go. And nice and still. Just have a look at that.
Just moving Joe back by a foot has made the room appear huge in comparison to this image where Joe is more dominant in the frame, but either image works well.
Lovely, happy with that. Right, so we've got a really nice environmental portrait of you in the shot. So I think what we need to do now is do a deep corner shot so we can get the full length of the room. We'll obviously use the 14mm lens, and I think maybe just here. So let's get the small tripod. Let's pop this on here. Luckily, we've got the flip out screen, which is going to be important because we won't be able to get behind the camera for this shot. That looks like a pretty decent.
So the reason I'm using 14mm is because, well, 24mm simply wouldn't be wide enough for these corner of the room shots, which is what we're about to do. We want to make the room appear much bigger than it is in reality. Less than 14mm, then you start to get what's called fisheye effect, where the center of the frame becomes quite bulbous and the outer edges of the frame looks distorted and loses focus. I will go to the 24mm lens for more close-up detailed shots, but for now, this is your sweet spot. So when I'm working on a location shoot project like this one, most of the work actually goes into the planning of it. With that in mind, let me introduce you to today's sponsor, which is Milanote. Milanote is the perfect tool for creatives because it's not just a digital notepad. It's perfect for visual thinkers like me. Using images to create visual boards enables you to see all of your ideas and organize them in a way that makes sense to you. Take this project, for example. I created my board using one of Milanote's built-in templates. There are over 100 to choose from. I opted for their photo shoot plan from their photography range. And after a bit of personalization to make the template work for me, here you can see my main board, showing a high-level overview of the entire project. Building and adding to your board couldn't be easier as Milanote supports common file types including JPEGs, PDFs, and more. In my inspiration column, I wanted to add some photos to give the client an idea of the look I was going for. By selecting Add Image in the toolbar, you can search for relevant topics and pictures in their built-in library. Then simply drag and drop into position. Of course, if you don't find anything you like, you can always upload your own. Or you can even create your own using the draw feature. You can also save images and links from any website with just one click using the Milanote Web Clipper. This easy-to-install extension is great for saving visual bookmarks on your board. I particularly like the ability to share your board with others, whether it's the client you're working for or other members of your team, making it easy to assign tasks and exchange comments, ensuring everyone is on the same page, literally. With all of its impressive functionality, it's hard to believe that Milanote is actually available for free with no time limit. So why not check it out for yourself? Find the links in the description below and get your next creative project underway with Milanote. Right, where's Joe?
Yeah, so I feel like these blue lights are a little bit too intense now, so if we can just turn those down a little bit. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to place this camera all the way in the corner and get a really elongated shot with the 14mm, focusing again on Joe's face, which we've already done at 2 meters. We've got a Rotolight here just lighting up this little sound pod here, which is good, and some of the keys. And it is just out of frame, which is perfect. Right, it's time for you to get in position, mate. Let's lock you in. I'm going to put this on a 10-second timer. You'll have 10 seconds. You'll hear when the shutter's going to go off. So that'll give me time to get out of the room. All the best, studio. Okay. Let's have a quick look. That's nice, mate.
Shooting at f8 enables perfect focus across the entire frame, even the keyboard closest to the camera.
Right, so I've switched over to my 24mm here. I'm all the way down to f1.4, which is the Sigma Art lens. That's as low as we can go. Oh, can you just turn the screens back on, mate? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Perfect. So yeah, f1.4, only 60th of a second, so I need to be fairly still. Steady shot is on. ISO 200, and I'm just going to focus on this little Fender logo just here, really just blur out that background.
Might be too try-hard this, isn't it?
I took 2 images here, one focused on the foreground guitar and the other focused on the middle of the desk, which gives Joe a couple of choices.
I'm going to flash you from behind just to give a little bit of a kicker light on the back of your head.
Now attached to this speed light, we have what's called a snoot with a grid on the front, and that's going to channel the light like a spotlight onto the back of Joe's head and shoulders because we don't want it spilling onto the wall. I also have my trusty Rotolight, which is adding a bit of fill onto Joe's face.
So mixing ambient with flash now, using that snoot, just focusing on Joe's face.
Flash output is pretty low, around 1/64th power. Because the flash fires at a temperature of 5600 Kelvin as opposed to the ambient light at about 2700, I could edit the colour to match the complementary teals with those oranges.
Right, I'm just going to focus on that cool tat. Yeah, if you just hunch over a little bit. Yeah, you look a little bit sort of upright. There you go. Just relax into it. There you go.
Image 1, I focused on the tattoo to blur out the background.
I'm just looking down at the guitar. Yeah, great.
And image 2 focuses on Joe's face and anything along the same plane.
That's nice, mate. Hold that.
f1.4 on this Sigma art lens is super sharp and a thing of beauty.
All right, let's go for that nice sort of Instagram profile pic. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
This image sets the ambient exposure ready for the introduction of flash.
So I'm just setting the exposure to the ambient light and then just adding a touch of fill light with this little speed light flash. That's nice when your face is to the key light. There. So we're going to go with like a fly on the wall shot over your shoulder now, while you're kind of working, doing your mixing, doing your editing. Full extension on this tripod. That should work a treat. Yeah, that looks super nice. That looks good. Yeah, great. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
I took full advantage of the use of diagonal lines from the corners of the room here.
Okay, one more shot, a little bit lower over the shoulder.
So I'm back in my editing studio with this image, and I'm quickly going to show you the color editing using orange and teal complementary colors. First, let's get the lens profile correction and fix any distortion in the image. And there it is, the Sigma art lens. Then a little reduction in the highlights and push those blacks a touch. Then straight onto the color mixer to really enhance the saturation on the warm tones. Next, using the Hues tab, make those warmer tones even warmer towards the red spectrum. Now here's the trick to this complementary color edit. Take the blues and push them towards the aquas. Then finally bring the luminance down so they're less intense. Lastly, I'll create a couple of linear gradient masks to pull the eyes into the scene, reducing down the exposure. How about a person mask on Joe to bring some clarity onto him? And one last brush mask to brighten the guitar and add some warmer temperature. And one last thing, I'll bring the global temperature down to around 4600 Kelvin. And with a small amount of retouching, the final edit looked like this. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing to the channel and don't forget to hit that like button to help this video along. I'll see you in the next one.